Welcome to I Finally Get It. If you're working in a 9-to-5 job and you're wondering if you can go on and become an entrepreneur, you're going to want to listen to this episode. Today we sit down with Mark Fontenot, CEO of Louisiana Garage Solutions. In studio with me, as always, Dustin Webb, our producer. I'm your host, Jeff Martin. Let's get it. Hey, Mark, thank you for coming in. Mark is the CEO of Louisiana Garage Solutions, and I'm really happy you're in studio today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey, so let's go to the moment where you sounded like Elvis right then. Let's go to the moment when you said, I finally get it.
So the moment where I would say I finally get it is probably the moment that I sold off one of my businesses and then realized that, hey, I've been doing this for other people for 20, 30 years. And yep. I can do this on my own. I don't need somebody's business to run. I can run my own business if I just put my mind to it.
No, well, that's it. I can't wait to hear what that was. Tell me where you're from, because I really don't know a whole lot about you.
So originally from Lake Charles, grew up in Lake Charles, went to high school, grade school, high school, and then at McNeese State University, but then went to work for the International Truck Engine Company for years. Yes.
So the big 18-wheelers, International Truck, cool.
Yep.
And you made that a career? So
originally my thought was I was going to just do that while I was going to college, right? And then bounce off of that to something else. But as I progressed through the dealership, it was a local dealership there in Lake Charles. And as I progressed through the dealership, I went from one stage to the other, and kind of thought, hey, the more I can learn, the more value I have to this company. And I learned that very quickly.
Yeah.
And then once I learned that and I got that value set in me, I tried to stair step as fast as I could, as high as I could with that local company.
That right there is a lesson that we all need to hear. Is are we high valued professionals? And too many of the people today, let's just say people, they don't think of anything as a career. It's a job, and they go from one job to the other without ever thinking about how valuable can I be, not only to the company, but in the open market, by sticking around and learning and growing and slowly and methodically going up. You brought so much value to that company. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So how long were you there?
So I was with International there in Lake Charles for 22 years.
Okay. Now, is that the company you realized, look, I can run this company. I'm going to go do something?
No, actually, International at that point in time had offered me a job, how I got to Lafayette, right? So offered me a job to come over to this dealership. The local owner was passing away and the son was taking over. So they needed somebody to kind of help them run the dealership. And I think the son's idea was to get me in there to make it profitable so they could actually sell off the business at some point. I did. I came in, worked for that dealership for about 3 or 4 years. And then when I sold off that business, that's when it came to me and said, hey, you know what? I can do this.
Yeah,
I can do this.
No doubt about it. Yeah. You've seen it all by then, at least on the dealership side. What'd you do next?
So actually, when we sold off that dealership, International had me another run. Next, go to Shreveport. They had the exact same setup up in Shreveport to do it all over again for another dealership up there. So went up there. At that moment, I had 2 boys starting college at LSU. And then, so I went up to the dealership, met with the owner, got everything kind of set up, actually even signed a deal to rent a house. I was driving back home, and a friend of mine here in Lafayette called me up and said, hey, what are you going to do? So I kind of told him, and he said, well, I have this deal. We're going to put this company together. I'm going to buy this company, and I need you to help me with it. So I did that for a little while at the same time while I was trying to set up my company that I have now.
Yeah. Yep.
So I helped him with his company, but that was a big decision after leaving, working for one company nearly all your life. And then just saying, I'm going to walk away from this and I'm going to go out on my own and try this by myself.
Big leap of faith. But you had to feel confident in your abilities to lead and manage and grow a company.
Right.
And so that Louisiana Garage Solutions. Huh?
That's right. So we started out in my garage, and everybody, they always tell these stories. I started out of my garage, but I literally started this company out of my garage in 2011 and went a little ways with it in my garage. Didn't last long. Got pretty big pretty fast, and went into rented a little building here in town. I think it was like 400 square feet. And then we moved one more time, another rental next door to that, and we got about 3,000 square feet. And now we're in the old Guidry's Hardware building there on Industrial Parkway, and we're at 15,600 square feet now.
Yeah, if anybody gets a chance to go by and see that facility, it's amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's just another sign of your slow, methodical process.
Yes.
And your just growth process, which I love because that's what I'm all about.
Right. So it is a growth process, not always easy by any means at all. I mean, we've had our moments of, man, I don't know if we're going to make it to the next payroll or to the next month or the next year. Just keep the faith and keep growing, keep moving, and never look back. It is challenging for sure. Everybody
goes through it. We just don't often talk about it. Somebody might come up, how you doing? I'm great. How are you? And you bounce it right back to them. But business is hard.
It is.
It's just tough. So how have you, Mark Fontenot, how have you changed in your leadership abilities or methods from being maybe a general manager or whatever you were with International to being the owner and running crews and growing your company? Has it changed you as a person?
It has. I'm probably a lot more easygoing with, especially with employees. When people start working for me, I really get a sense of who they are and what they are. Somebody had told me one time before, never judge an employee by just their feelings for one day. It's because you never know what's going on in their life at that moment.
So true.
So I kind of keep that in the back of my head. Before I was just working for International, a driving manager. Here's your numbers, here's your quota, here's what you got to do. If you want to make more money for me, this type of thing. So it was a drive type working for somebody else. And then when I made it my own, I didn't quite do it as much on my own because I had people working for me that I truly cared about. I mean, every day, whether or not what's going on in your life. Even today, we are a family first company for sure.
Yeah, I love that. So for the people that are watching or listening, explain what Louisiana Garage Solutions is, because they may be thinking overhead doors and things like that, and it's just not.
It's not. Louisiana Garage Solutions does garage storage systems. So our solutions, what we do is we come in, you have a garage that needs storage systems of some sort. A lot of the houses nowadays, they've made, that's where they cut down the most at, is the garage size. So they make these garages smaller and storage space is very limited. So we go in and we put up shelving systems, overhead racks. We put up garage versalifts where they actually take stuff up into the attic. The attic doors that are inside the garages, we can swap those out from the flip-flop type ladders to the what we call a scissor type ladder that is much easier to unfold and lift back up and put away than the old flip-flop that they used to use for years. So we do it all. We do cabinets, high-end cabinets. We do epoxy floors. If it has to do with the garage, we're in.
That's right.
We can do it.
Yeah, I saw an epoxy floor out through the driveway yesterday. I went to a party and they had one of those, and I was thinking, I bet you Mark did this one.
So we do a lot. And it doesn't limit it to the garage. For some times we go out in the driveway. People have us do the sealer on the driveway, in the patios in the back. So it is it's evolved over the years for sure. But our main company is garage storage systems and epoxy floors in garages. Yep.
Yeah, and even that has evolved as your business has. You've found adjacent markets and you've been able to partner with other companies. Tell me about that.
So when we first started with the garage storage system, there was a little company called Stain by Design. It was owned by a local guy here in town, and he was kind of a one-man show. He would go out and stain patios and even driveways, and walkways and stuff like that. So we would work with him, and then we would go to somebody's house and we'd do their garage, and they'd say, oh, by the way, do you know anybody that can stain my back patio or put something on my patio? And we'd say, yeah, we do. So we would get him kind of set up to do that. Worked with him for a few years and then ended up buying the company from him. So that kind of merged the stain part of it. And then over the years, we've got a little bit more. So we had a company that would come in and they would do the organization part of it. We would put in the garage, all the cabinets, all the storage systems, and then they would help the customer with the organization. Company's called Home Suite Organized. Last year, we bought her company and brought her in with her staff and kind of incorporated that into our system too. And then recently, we just bought out Partners in Energy in Baton Rouge. And that would be the part that would do the sheetrock and the painting and the demolition if there was any old cabinets in the way. So now we kind of have closed the loop where everything is underneath our roof now.
Yeah, that's amazing. So regardless of what you need, you can do it all. One-stop shop.
Again, on some of our stuff, there are other open areas that they could go into, but we really want them to focus on the garage and the stuff that we do, right? So we don't want Partners in Energy to go out and say, hey, I'm going to go to a new house and I'm going to put out 67 sheets of sheetrock and float it and paint it for this new house. That's not something they would do.
That's right.
They are basically a company that would follow us and do the work that we do.
Yeah. So everything complements the garage solutions.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. It's just brilliant. And I love the way you're going methodically and slowly. And it's really a lesson for our listeners. So for anybody watching, listening, what is like a business tip you would give them, whether it came from Garage Solutions or something else?
I would say that on the business side of it is basically you got to be patient. The biggest thing I can tell you is you have to be patient. Not everything is going to go right every day of every week. Sometimes you're going to have your ups and sometimes you're going to have your downs. But I would say be very patient because all in all, in the end, you're going to make it and you're going to do just fine. You just have to make sure that you stay on that path, the path that you have. Don't go up, don't go down. Try to stay on that path as much as you can. And then you're going to be just fine in the end.
What about those folks who have a job and they have a career and they move to owning companies? What are something that they can look out for that either surprised you or you had to work to grow into?
On the working part, when I was working for someone else and trying to run the garage solution side of it, that was probably the most difficult time of my life. You would work 8 hours a day for somebody else, and then you were doing your estimates, and then you were doing your installs on weekends or afternoons or whatever the case may be. When you got busy, it was very difficult to do that sometimes. But what I would say is that you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to make that leap of faith and jump into that. And Jeff, let me tell you, there was times where I never even took a payroll. I mean, we did without money for 6 months sometimes, no payroll at all. And then we struggled through that. But then there was times that, we hit the mother load. And we did very well. And then we came out of it. I would say that just if you're ready to take that leap, you got to have that faith and just go. And don't stick around just because you have, it's easy to stick around and it's easy to keep that dollar and it's easy to keep that insurance and everything else that you have with that other company. It's going to take that leap and it's going to take that doing without a lot of things for a few months to get where you're going. But you have to take that leap.
Yeah, you're 100% right. But it's worth it, right?
It is very well worth it. I know that if I would have stayed with the original people that I was working with, I would not be where I am today by any means. And there's no way I could do what I did on my birthday this year. There's no way I could have done that working for another company.
What'd you do on your birthday?
I retired.
That is so cool.
So I say I retired. I still own the business, still will own the business, but basically took a back role as a CEO and tried to understand that now I'm part of the growing side of it, not the running side of it. So to grow the company and make sure that it has the resources and the people. Acquisitions is kind of my deal right now. That would be what I would like to do for right now.
Yeah, without giving any secrets away, there are other adjacent markets that you can get into that kind of complement the garage side?
Yes.
Okay.
So there are a few other applications that I would like to get into, and it's more along the part of the interior of the home, less than the garage side of it. So it would be basically just taking some of our other companies, like the Home Suite Organize, where she goes in and she does organizations. And it's no secret, we're going to get into the closets, and we're going to get into the mud rooms and the laundry rooms and stuff like that, where we start putting cabinets in for them.
That makes perfect sense. Yes. It really does.
Yep.
One of the best bits of advice that I got that I didn't take was don't grow too fast. You seem to be very methodical in your approach. Is that true, or is it?
Well, if you'd listen to my wife, she would say no. She says, you grow way too fast, a lot faster than I want you to. But it just seems like when I get comfortable, when you're at that point, it happens. So you're running your company, and then all of a sudden it's on autopilot, right?
Yep.
And you're walking around going, now what am I going to do?
And
so you go out and you find another company.
You find something to do.
So so that you got to remember, I bought the pie company, which is Partners in Energy, August the 1st of this year, and I was retiring September the 4th.
And what I love is, I talked with you about this one time, is schedule a vacation, like a 4-week vacation, to makes you push to get there.
Right.
And so I know you just bought an RV and you've been traveling. Have you loved that?
I do love that. We just got back. We took a little short one this weekend with family and friends, and we were all sitting around, and several of us are just recently retired, and some of us are fixing to retire. There's a group of about 6 of us that we camp with. It's just so nice to sit around and kind of talk about things that, how much easier it is to do now. But I still have that mindset, and I'm always thinking, I haven't gotten completely retired in my head yet, but I'm always thinking about what can we do? How can we do this better? Or what can we do to make this a better for the company? Even sitting at the campground sometimes, but I have to work on that. That's one of the things that I need to work on to try to be retired.
I'm not 100% sure your visionary skills will ever go away. You may not act on everything, but you're looking at the company because you're still the owner.
Right.
And do you plan to just continue in that role and be the visionary and keep growing from that perspective?
I think for right now, for at least the next 8 to 10 years, I would like to be that visionary.
Good.
But I know at 71, my plan is to be out completely.
Got it.
In 10 years.
Something tells me at 71, you're not going to be in it.
Yeah. So, and looking on the past, one of the things that I had whenever I was come out of college and I started working for International Truck and I started to go up the ladder, one of the things that we talked about was where do you want to go? I mean, that was one of the owners, and he was a model for sure for me. And where do you want to go? And I would tell him, I want to own my own dealership by the time I'm 40 years old. I was 41.
Nice. Nice. That's
when
great.
I got the ownership. Yeah. So it took me a little bit longer than I thought, but I plan every step of everything that I do. And that's my goal. And I try to hit my goals all the time.
Yeah. And see, there's a light bulb moment there, planning and then executing, because execution is the hardest part of this deal. But obviously you've gotten it down and you know how to get it done.
Right. When I was young, my father-in-law, when I was like coming out of college and I just started working and everything. And, you get some of these teenage kids or they're in their early 20s and you're talking to them and you're going, man, this kid's never going to make up anything,
Yeah.
So my father-in-law was looking at me one time and we were talking. I was telling him, and, at some point I want to own my own dealership. Oh, he says, Mark, he said, you're always going to be a blue collar worker. You're never going to make it past that blue collar worker. So that was a challenge. I mean, it was a big challenge for me to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to make sure that I am not a blue collar worker for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Good for you. We often talk about Mother Teresa would tell her nuns, when someone encounters you, make sure you leave them different and better than they were before the encounter. How do you leave people different and better having met you? Even
the people that work for me or the people that I just do business with every day?
Anybody and everybody.
So I think for the most part, most customers would tell you that I'm pretty easy to get along with. Like I'll go to somebody's house and I'll do an estimate for them. And when I call them back to kind of get a feel for where we're at and, if they're interested, I do tell them, say, look, I'm not a pushy salesman. I'm just not that type of salesman. I'm going to ask you if you need anything more from me, if I can change anything for you, if I can do anything for you. And many times people would say, you are not the cheapest person, but I trust you because of who you are. And that's why I'm going to do business with you. Some of that is just the way I talk to people and the way I come across, because I just want to be straight up and honest. We do exactly what we say we're going to do. Better Business Bureau, just for an instance, they have awards, and within the first 5 years of my company being in business, we won what they call an award for being exactly what we say we're going to do. So we also want to make sure that everybody is completely happy. Like when we go back and we go over the job with the customer and make sure that they're happy with it, we want to be like, I am overwhelmed with this job. It is more than I thought it was going to be. I tell my employees, when you're finished, that customer should come out there and they should walk in and look at it and go, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And that's what we're looking for. That's exactly what we're looking for.
Thanks for joining us this week on I Finally Get It. For more information on Mark and what he's got going on, visit our show notes at ifinallygetit.com. We'll see you next week when we sit down with Jason Guidry and he shares what he finally got. If you or someone you know is a business owner and you're willing to share your light bulb moment so it might help a fellow business owner, reach out to me at jeff@ifinallygetit.com.